I love wiffle ball. No other way to explain it. Just something about the game, the feel of the grass, smacking that ball all over the field, making plays, diving head first, whatever it takes to get the job done. That's what wiffle ball means to me. Striking out grown men, watching their knees buckle on a called third strike. Sit out, bud. And then, of course, the home runs, the base hits, the big home runs at the big moments. That's a whiff of greatness. Join us all season long for the Joe Aguirre Story, a CMG podcast.
What's going on, everyone? We got a big crew here today. We are joined by Sports Talk with R&J, a little mashup of shows here because it's the biggest time of the year in the basketball world. Besides the NBA playoffs, we got March Madness coming up starting tomorrow. Obviously, I'm joined by Sean and Isaiah always, and welcoming in Justin and Steve. Guys, there's a lot to talk about here. So let's not waste any time. Let's get to my first. We're gonna start with some kind of around the hornish topics. Just go around and give our pieces. So first thing I want to know with you guys, and we'll go to my right. So we'll start with Sean. Just tell me what's one upset you're pretty much guaranteeing in your bracket for the round of 64.
Yeah, the one that I'm going with Oregon State over Tennessee. I think that we see pretty much every year we see 12s beating 5s, and I think this has a good chance to be one of them. Oregon State had a very impressive run in the Pac-12 championship. They beat some really good teams, some tourney teams, including Colorado, UCLA, and Oregon, and they're playing their best ball at the right time right now. And I think Tennessee. They had a great start to the season, but in their past 15 games, they're 8-7, and they haven't had a lot of success offensively. So I think this is a team that could very well be an upset alert, and I think Oregon State is playing very good at the right time. So I think that would be my lock for an upset.
Isaiah, who you got?
Someone's gonna make me change my bracket. Actually, I got Ohio. Actually, I think Ohio is going to pull off upset. I think Jason Peters is actually Jason Preston is a really good player over there. Probably the best point guard in the nation right now. Definitely going to be a first round pick in the draft. Kid's averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. I think him alone is going to be enough to be a game changer. So I have Ohio winning upset in the first round. Nice.
Justin, who you got? Who are you guaranteeing to win the first round?
I get the 23-1 Winthrop Eagles. I've seen this team play a few times. They got 6'7" point guard Chandler Vondre, who's a JUCO transfer. The way they play defense is really aggressive, and without Colin Gillespie for the Villanova Wildcats, I feel like Winthrop's will be able to force a lot of turnovers. They also have Tennessee transfer DJ Barnes down low. We'll see how much he plays against Nova because his body compares like a Zach Randolph, so it's tough to play with Nova. With their underside, but I'll take Winthrop.
Steve, who do you got?
I don't like saying this because I'm a UConn fan, but I got Syracuse over San Diego State, and here's the reason why. San Diego State really struggled from three-point range against Utah State in the Mountain West Championship game. And Buddy Boeheim, he's been playing really well. And Syracuse, you saw, they almost beat Virginia. I know the ACC is not that good, but Virginia was the number 1 seed in the ACC. Syracuse almost beat them. And let's be honest, I don't like Syracuse because I'm a UConn fan. I can't stand them. I can't stand Boeheim, but his teams play really well in the tournament. I mean, in 2013, we remember they were the number 4 seed and they got to the Final Four. In 2016, they were the number 10 seed and they got to the Final Four again. And then in 2018, they were the number 10 seed and they got to the Sweet 16, upsetting Michigan State. So Boeheim's teams play really well in the tournament. I think that continues this year. I think they're a lock to beat San Diego State tomorrow night.
Nice. That's actually a really good pick. Yeah, you're right about Jim Boeheim. Something about the tournament just gets him going. But I'm gonna go with, like Sean said, basically every year you see a 12-5 upset. I'm gonna go with out of the East region. I'm gonna go Georgetown over Colorado, and that's just for the only reason is Georgetown went on an incredible run to win the Big East championship. They steamrolled Creighton, a team I think that UConn should have beaten in that Big East tournament, but
they absolutely should have. Yes.
But I mean, you saw it. I think their 2 stars, Mahoney and someone else, not the point guard, but it was one of their other players combined to shoot. I think it was like 2 for 20 in that game, and they just
it was Mitch Ballack.
Yep, that's who it was. They absolutely got steamrolled by Georgetown. So I think Georgetown's a team who has a lot of momentum heading into this tournament. Patrick Ewing, obviously, it's his first tournament, so he'll be looking to turn up the gear extra hard for that game. And I think Georgetown's going to beat Colorado here. And so my next question for you guys, we'll go in reverse order this time. We'll start with Steve, go to Justin, and then Isaiah, Sean, and myself. A lot of these teams who are seated below 10, you don't really get to see them play on national TV too often. So I want to know, you guys, who's one team seated below 10 or lower that you're looking forward to watching here in the first round?
For me, it's Winthrop. I mean, 23-1. I think they have a really good team. I'm excited because I've not seen a Winthrop game all year. I admit that, so I'm really excited to see them play. And I got them in my Sweet 16.
Nice.
I got I'm actually changing it. Well, from Winthrop, I got Ohio in the team I'm looking most forward to playing. I saw them play against Illinois. They should have beat Illinois back on Black Friday. They only lost by 2 points. They gave them all they could handle. That's the first time I saw Jason Preston. He put up 30 against them. Even nights when he's not a great scorer, he'll go out and get 8 assists and another 8 rebounds. He's just a great all-around player. And then Dwight Wilson down low as well. I'm excited to watch this Ohio team if they can speed up Virginia in the first round.
Nice. Isaiah, who you got? Who you looking forward to watching?
I'm not sure actually what seed they are, but UC Santa Barbara, actually, I'm actually going to see them play. I don't ever get a chance to see them play. Heard they're actually a really good team. They should be able to win this week, I hear. They're one of the teams I picked to upset this week because obviously, like you guys said, Creighton hasn't been playing really great. So I'd see them to win in that game. But like I said, it's a chance to see a team I don't really get to see.
No, right. Santa Barbara is a 12 seed, so that is a good pick right there. I'm also looking forward to watching that. Sean, who you got?
Zay took mine. I was gonna go with UC Santa Barbara, but I mean, like he said, I mean, Creighton, they rely on their shooting really heavily. So if they have an off night shooting, then I mean they could be beaten by anyone. And Santa Barbara, they've won 18 of their last 19. So I'm interested to see because they had a really easy schedule. I think throughout their season. So I want to see how they play against better competition. And also I hate Creighton because of what they did to UConn this year. And they have a racist head coach, which makes it even worse. So I'm not a fan of Creighton. So I'd like to see them upset in the first round. So I definitely want to see what Santa Barbara could bring.
Yeah, let's get Creighton out of here. I like that pick. But one team I'm looking forward to watching, and this is all because of who their head coach is Iona. And they're going up against
Rick Pitino.
They're going up against Alabama. Rick Pitino, obviously one of the most two things. He's obviously one of the most decorated coaches in college basketball history, but he's also one of the most controversial coaches in NCAA basketball history. So it'll be exciting to see what he can do with a team, obviously with little to no experience in this tournament. I know Iona's been a face around the 15-16 seed the last couple of years, but when you have a coach like Rick Pitino, anything in my mind is possible. So we'll see. Obviously, he's someone who knows what it feels like to go all the way and win the championship. So he knows a few things about winning around a 64 game. So I'm excited to see how he gets his players ready to play in that game there. Getting my next question up here. we'll reverse the order once again. I'll start with Sean. Sean, your opinion, man. Who is the weakest number 1 seed in this tournament?
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy for me. I think it's got to be Michigan. I think, they had a COVID-19 pause a little over a month ago. And, once they came back from that, they really haven't looked the same. I mean, they were looking dominant before that. So I just don't think they've been the same ever since that COVID pause. And then on top of that, they're going to be without one of their top scorers, Isaiah Livers. So, I mean, they have really good big men in Hunter Dickerson and Franz Wagner. But I think that they're going to miss the scoring of Isaiah Livers. So I think that they'd easily be my team for the weakest number 1 seed.
Isaiah, who's your weakest number 1? Assuming a lot of us are going to have the same answer here. You're on mute there, buddy.
Oh, wow, I didn't even realize I was on mute. You guys are messing with me. Obviously, I was thinking Baylor, honestly, but I haven't had a chance really to see Baylor play much. I don't really know much about them. I just know they're at number 1. So for me, not hearing much about them, to me, makes them, in my opinion, seem that they're worse. Obviously, it's not from a basketball opinion, but it's just from the little bit of knowledge I know on them. So obviously, I'm going Baylor. It wouldn't be Gonzaga. I'm picking them to go all the way. So it's definitely Baylor for me.
Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Sean. I got Michigan as well. It sounds like Livers. They don't want to turn into a stress factor, I guess. So yeah, losing him with that 3-point shooting ability and the way Michigan loves to spread it out. I think Michigan could be in trouble, especially they match up with an LSU team that's not great defensively, but they could put up 80 points on any given team any night with Cam Thomas. So I worry about Michigan.
And for me, it's obviously Michigan. It's so obvious. I mean, even the preseason, they were picked for 7th overall in the conference. And yes, Juwan Howard did a great job with them. But if you watched them late in the season, I mean, if you contain Hunter Dickinson, Michigan is not a great team. And you saw that when they played Illinois without Ayo Dosunmu. Illinois beat them by over 20 points. You saw that when they went to Michigan State. Michigan State beat them. So you contain Hunter Dickinson. This is not a great team. And in my bracket, and Ted made a good point, LSU could beat them. I have LSU beating them in my bracket. So I think this is a very, very obvious one that it is Michigan.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I'm gonna back up Isaiah here. I'll give it a little more reason, but and not to bash on you, Isaiah. I understand not hearing a lot about a team can certainly weaken them in your opinion. But I'm also gonna go with Baylor. I think there's this famous clip that goes around there, floats up every time March Madness comes around, and it's what's his name? Torian Waller Prince.
Torian Prince.
Yeah, and it's about rebounds and how does Yale out rebound Baylor, and Baylor ended up losing that game. And Baylor, they're not the strongest rebounding team in college basketball, and I think that ultimately can really hurt you in a game. Obviously sometimes it's not make or break, but sometimes it is.
Lucas, their guard play is the best in the country. I mean, with Mitchell, with Butler, with Teague. They have 2 All-Americans on that team. Jared Butler, Mitchell, and Teague. Those are 3 top guards in the country and 2 All-Americans. You can't criticize how their inside game is not good, but their guard play is the best in the country. I do agree with you there. But I think sometimes second chance points can make or break you. And if you give up a lot, I think you're very vulnerable. So I'm going to stick with Baylor there, even though I do know they are a very good team. I think they do everything right. They can get in, but a couple slip ups on the offensive glass can certainly mess you up. So we're going to get into a little bit of UConn here. UConn faces Maryland in one of the 7-10 matchups here. Guys, I just want to know, basically, I know Isaiah's not a UConn fan in here, but the rest of you guys, Isaiah, you can still give your take on this because, it's college basketball. That's what we're here to talk about. Steve, we'll start with you. How confident are you in UConn? I am confident. I'm confident that they're going to win this game. I think that they have the advantage inside with Sinago. You saw how good Sinago played against Creighton. I think, yes, Morsell is good defensively, but Maryland does not have a player on the floor as good as James Bouknight. And I still think, even though James Bouknight didn't take over against Creighton. I still think he's going to have a really good game against Maryland, and I'm confident because Maryland really doesn't have an inside game. Last year with Jalen Smith, they had an inside game. This is not the team Maryland was last year. This is a above average team at best. I think UConn in their first tournament game in 5 years, I think they get a win.
Justin, how's UConn's chances looking for you?
I'm very worried. I think they pull it out, but
he said that worried on the show yesterday too.
Yes, because Maryland likes to grind you out, and as we saw Friday night and we've seen all year, UConn loses games when they have to play in the half-court offense, and Maryland loves to do that. And it's a team that they get back on defense. They don't crash you off into glass, so they're not going to have a lot of fast break opportunities. I feel like Daryl Marcel, if he's able to guard James Bouknight in the half court, I just don't like, I don't like the way their half courts run. They look like they're half motion. They, run their sets in half motion. So I'm very worried. I think UConn can pull it out because of their defense. Maryland's not, Eric Ayala, Darren Moselle are really good guards, but I think they find a way to pull it out, but I'm very worried.
Isaiah, you got to take on this UConn game. I know you're a Notre Dame guy, but how's UConn's chances looking?
Definitely no take, but it's going to be a good one. Both teams finished the season strong, so I believe it could go either way. I don't get to watch much UConn basketball, nor do I care for it. Like you said, I'm a Notre Dame fan. But I hope it, like I said, I hope it's enjoyable. Confidence level, there's none for me because I care less for UConn guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Connecticut guys, but I don't care for UConn.
That hurts.
Even though them and Notre Dame used to have a little bit of a rivalry when they were in the Big East. A little bit.
You'd call it that.
Yeah.
A little bit of time we spent in Notre Dame like divisions outside independent, apparently.
Sean, you liking UConn's chances here in this first round matchup?
I am liking UConn's chances. I think that a lot of teams that made it, like Rutgers, Wisconsin, and Maryland, I think the only reason they made it is because of the Big Ten hype. I think that it's similar to SEC in football. I think that, just because they're in the Big Ten and they had their average teams, and because they have a lot of losses and they're also great teams, but I just don't believe that Maryland's a great team. And I think that it's a good matchup for UConn. I think that, Maryland relies on their shooting, similar to Creighton, but I think that UConn's ball pressure on defense, especially in the front court, I think that it's really good with guys like RJ Cole and Bouknight and Tyrese Martin, backcourt, excuse me. But anyways, I think that it's a good matchup for them. And I do think that James Bouknight is going to be frustrated his performance against Creighton. I think that he's going to want to take over in this game. And like Steve said, Adama Sanogo has been playing spectacular over the past month. I think that he's one of the best post scorers that I've seen in the country this year. And he's just continued to improve better and better. And I think if guys like Tyrese Martin and RJ Cole can step up scoring wise, I think that UConn could be a very scary team. And I think that they do have a chance to make a run. And I think that they'll beat Maryland pretty handily.
Yeah, as strange as it might sound, I think a lot of people don't think of Sanogo as a X factor player on this UConn team. I think he can have, besides James Bouknight, obviously, who's the best player on this team and one of the best players in the country. I think Sanogo can have, a make or break performance in this game. I think, he gets down in the paint, gets that little baby hook going, and it's so smooth. Probably one of the smoothest little hook shots I've seen in college basketball in a long time. Mm-hmm. But I think Sanogo is definitely key here for UConn. And then, like Steve said, when Bouknight's on his game, he's a hard guy to stop. And, Maryland, while they do play physically and they do play hard defense, they try to wear you out. I think UConn is going to do a good job here of controlling the pace. And I like UConn to win this game. I don't want to say easily, but I'm fairly confident that UConn will win this game.
Yeah. I think Isaiah Whaley is a big X factor too. I think he's one of the best rim protectors in the nation. So I think that he's going to have a lot to do with UConn's success.
Yeah, I believe Whaley is top 10 in the country in blocks, if I'm not wrong.
He's definitely up there,
which is incredible. I think that's an amazing stat. We haven't had an elite rim protector like that since the Amita Brima days, and we know what happened with Amita Brima was on the team. We won a national championship, so don't want to jinx anything. Knock on wood, but things are looking awfully similar here to 2014, and I'm not saying that's a bad. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I don't know about that. I mean, in 2014, I think that team proved like they beat Florida during the regular season, who was one of the best teams in the country. I mean, they got to the final of the AAC tournament and lost to Louisville. So I don't see the comparisons of 2014. I don't think the team can make a run like it did in 2014. But the one comparison you do have is they were a 7th seed that year and they're a 7th seed this year.
Yes.
I'm like, with Bouknight, I know Bouknight hasn't had its inner Kemba or Shabazz yet, but he's good enough to have that moment. I know we haven't seen it, but I could see them going on a run. I think they can play up tempo. I think they can do it.
I think the other guys need to step up too, because the 2014 team, obviously Shabazz was great, but I think Ryan Boatwright had a big part to do with that too. And I think they're going to need a scorer like that, either out of RJ Cole or Tyrese Martin. So I do believe in Boatwright. Yeah, I think he can do it, but I think the supporting cast is really what it comes down to.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. So
that's our hero.
Hey, Shabazz is goated as far as UConn players are concerned.
Man.
So before we get into some of the deeper questions I had here, we're gonna get into just the last little quick question here. Guys, basically quick, if you had to pick a team seeded 13 or lower to win their first game in this first round, who are you taking? We'll start with you, Sean.
I'm going to go with Morehead State over West Virginia. I think that West Virginia, they're usually known for their defense with Marty Huggins, but their defense isn't as dominant as it has been in the past. So I think that Morehead State, they're also an experienced team. I believe that, 4 of their 5 starters are, junior, they're upperclassmen. So I think the experience definitely helps in the tournament. And I think that they definitely have a chance to go out and beat West Virginia.
Isaiah, who do you got?
Now, when you say lower, you mean like lower number, correct?
Yeah, 13, like 13 to 16.
13 to 16.
I mean, if you have a 16 seed win.
A 16 has won before, though. Yes, a 16 has won a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the upsets, I can't tell you any other team I'm thinking about winning.
You don't got Hartford over Baylor? Come on.
I'm not silly now. I'm not silly now. Come on. I watch a ton of college basketball, but I'm not silly. No, outside, like I said, outside of my upsets, I don't really have much. Most of those teams I don't watch anyway, so I really don't.
No. And you had mentioned earlier you think Ohio's a team that could win their first game, so that can count for you right there.
Like I said, outside of my upset, I don't know anyone else there. So
right. Justin, I'm very curious to hear who you got. I know you're a big college basketball guy, so hit me with it.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot just because I've seen all the mid majors, so you're kind of attached to them. But I'm going back to Ohio. I was between them and Colgate. I don't know if I think Colgate can maybe win a shootout with Arkansas, but I feel a lot more confident Ohio, especially with Virginia's kind of COVID issues right now. I really think Jason Preston could give them some issues. I think they match up well with Virginia because they don't have a ton of size. Ohio does either, so I'm going to take the Ohio Bobcats. I feel pretty confident that they can knock off Virginia in the first round.
I'm going with UNC Greensboro as the number 13 seed to win over Florida State. And the big reason is because of Isaiah Miller. He is the 2-time Southern Conference Player of the Year. I think he could take over in that game. The problem with Florida State for years is they really never have a dominant player. They have a lot of good players. I know Scotty Barnes is a top prospect, but he hasn't shown he could be a dominant player this year. So I like UNC Greensboro over Florida State.
No, that's an interesting pick. I thought a lot about this one, and I've been going back and forth. I don't know. This is definitely a shot in the dark, but I would love to see Mr. Rick Pitino win an upset 15-2 seed.
And if they win, they'll probably play UConn.
Yeah, and I don't want to jinx UConn if that's what ends up happening, but I'd love to see Iona in the second round over Alabama any day. But I think that'd be just so cool. It's more of a want than what I would choose if I had to, but we'll go with that. We'll go with Iona. I think that would just be really cool to see. So
especially with Louisville and Kentucky both out of the tournament.
100%.
It's the last laugh.
Yeah. So getting into some of the deeper stuff here, I wanted to ask you guys who we all filled out our brackets, of course. I want to know what's one team you have making a Cinderella run in your Sweet 16 that you think is, kind of unique. Other people could obviously have that in theirs, but who's one team in the Sweet 16 you think you kind of can see making that run that not a lot of other people see? Son, we'll start with you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I went with I mentioned them before, but as a team that I wanted to see, but I'm going with Santa Barbara. I think that they can beat Creighton. Obviously, like I said, Creighton relies on their shooting. They couldn't be very streaky at times. We saw it against Georgetown in the Big East Championship. So it's more of a want than I think that they actually can make it. But I do believe they can make a run. And if they do win that game, they would play Virginia after that. And I don't think Virginia is dominant as in years past. Obviously, the ACC was super weak this year. So I think that, they took advantage of that, beating some of the weaker teams. Aside from Florida State, I think they're pretty good. But I do think that Santa Barbara is the one team that could make a Sweet 16 run. And I have them in my Sweet 16 right now.
Isaiah, you got any unique picks for your Sweet 16?
Yeah, surprisingly, I probably not surprised to you guys because you guys are college basketball fans, but I have Bama in there. I know Bama's very known for football, but they've been shooting the three ball well, and they play really good defense. And I think that they could be quiet enough of a team that people would overlook to make it into that Sweet 16. So I'd have Bama up there as a surprise to myself when I pick my bracket. I don't know.
Yeah, Alabama is kind of new to the the top seeded college game, if you want to say that. They were obviously very good this year, but you got a lot of teams, like I just said. Iona, I think, has a chance to beat them in the first round, and then UConn's no easy matchup in the next round if they get there. So I can definitely see that being somewhat of a tough road for Alabama. So that's a good pick there, Zay. Justin, who you got?
I got Winthrop. I think, I already said that I think they can knock off Villanova. Then if they get Purdue, it's a very young team. They have a ton of freshmen. Trevion Williams is Purdue's best player, but I think DJ Burns could shut him down or slow him down in the post. So I could see Winthrop making a Sweet 16 run, or even in, if North Texas beats Purdue. I think Winthrop would be able to knock off North Texas.
Steve?
I'm going to go with LSU, and here's why. Cam Thomas, great shooter. You should have seen some of the shots he made in that SEC championship game. He was shooting from half court. He's a great shooter. He's obviously going to be a top 15 pick in the NBA next year. Javonte Smart is a good player too, and so is Wofford. I think with the talent of LSU, they very easily can. I have them in my Elite Eight just because of the talent and the bracket they're in. They're going up against Michigan. I think, and obviously I said it earlier, Michigan's by far the worst one seed in the tournament. So I think LSU makes a run, not only to the Sweet 16, in my opinion, I think they make a run to the Elite Eight.
Well, that's a nice pick there. I'm kind of going to one of the teams that historically has had good NCAA tournaments in the past, and they've been in a few championships as far as I can remember in the days. That's North Carolina. I got them taking out Baylor in the second round, and I understand Baylor. Steve's very high on Baylor, but I think this March is just a time where anything can happen. And
like I get it.
Like I say with the whole, I wouldn't be surprised if Rick Pitino pulled out a win in the NCAA tournament. Same there with Roy Williams at North Carolina. I think that having experience as a head coach is very important. I understand their offense isn't that great, but they do play tough defense. So
even with Brooks and Baycott, up front, they could actually destroy Baylor on the glass. But I worry about North Carolina. Their guards are so inexperienced. But look, if they fire up some shots, I think North Carolina could have a bunch of second chance points.
Yeah, all you have to do is make some threes, and then like you said, I talked about earlier, Baylor is not the greatest rebounding team. So if you can go out there get some second chance points on this Baylor team, I think they're very vulnerable in that sense.
Yeah, they are with the 4-guard lineup. They don't really have much even on the bench that are big guys. And then something too, I said Roy Williams actually 29-0 in the first round. So.
And Justin's not a big Roy guy. He's not a big Roy guy.
The only time they wins it if they're miles better than the team they're going up against.
Like in 05 and 09. And even
Yeah.
17, it was a little bit close. But 05 and 09, he was miles better than everybody that year.
He had to win it those 2 years. So that's why I'm not the biggest Roy fan. He always holds on to his timeouts so at the end of the games. I never understood it.
All right, so we're gonna get into our next question here. This is kind of different than anything we've talked about today on the show, but I want to know, you guys, who is one of the top NBA prospects you're looking forward to watching in the tournament here. Steve, we'll start with you.
Oh, it's obvious. It's Cade Cunningham. I mean, he's just phenomenal. The guy could shoot the three. The guy can pretty much do anything. He's been phenomenal in the second half of the season for Oklahoma State. And I'm asking just for one matchup in March Madness. Can we please get Illinois against Oklahoma State? Please.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only matchup I'm watching. I'm telling you, if they play, I'll be more excited for that game than I'll be for the national championship game. That's how exciting that'll be. Because in my opinion, Illinois is the best team. And you got the best player in Cade Cunningham and the consensus #1 overall pick. So I really, really want to see that matchup. But Cade Cunningham is definitely the player that I'm really, really looking forward to watch throughout the tournament. I cannot stand the fact that Oklahoma State got a #4 seed. It was absolutely ridiculous. They got a #4 seed. They should have been at least a #3 seed. They beat West Virginia and Baylor in the Big 12 tournament and lost to Texas, but Texas had the night off the night before. There's no way Oklahoma State should have been the #4 seed in this tournament. That is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I was shocked that Oklahoma got snubbed there. I got a guy that's kind of off the radar, Chris Duarte up at Oregon. He's a senior. He's kind of going late second round. This guy would be an All-American if he played for a team on the East Coast. He's a 3-level scorer. I think Oregon's going to make a run in this thing. And I'm hoping – I think America's going to learn his name, and I think he's going to have a big tournament for the Ducks.
Isaiah, you're hot on NBA prospects, so tell me, who you got? Who you looking forward to watching here in this tournament?
I'm not hot on him, but it is Jason Preston because my team is in need of a point guard, so I will be watching his games. Now, obviously, like you said, he's a first-round talent. A lot of people are comparing him to the LaMelo Ball of last year's draft, the type of prospect he is. And like I said, my team needs a point guard, so he's going to be one of the people I'm definitely looking into it since we missed out on John Morant a couple of years ago. So that's definitely someone I'm going to be looking at.
Sean, who are you looking forward to watching?
Yeah, I was going to go with Cade Cunningham because he's absolutely electric. But I think Evan Mobley is another guy that I'm definitely looking forward to from USC. He's an absolute beast in the paint down low. He's averaging, 17 and 9. He also gives you 3 blocks a game, and he does it super efficiently. I'm pretty sure he's shooting over, 55% from the field. So he's a great player. I think that I think USC can make a run if he starts to dominate, and I definitely think that he can get to that level. So definitely Evan Mobley is a guy that I have my eyes on.
Yeah, for me, I know a lot of people haven't been talking about him since nearly the beginning of the season, but it's my man over in Iowa, Luka Garza. I think that a lot of teams are going to – he's like an Obi Toppin. A lot of teams are going to pass up on him because he's older. He's a 4-year guy at Iowa, but I think this guy, he's an elite scorer. He's a great shooter for someone his size, and I think he can kind of just do everything. He's one of those, can do it all guys. So I'm looking forward to watching Iowa and Luka Garza play in this tournament. Hopefully they don't get upset because that would not be good for the fan point of view. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to know your guys' opinion on undefeated teams. Gonzaga obviously is coming into this tournament undefeated. Sean, we'll start with you. Do you think that teams are cursed that are undefeated in the NCAA tournament? I mean, it's been almost 40 years since an undefeated team has won an NCAA championship.
Yeah, I do think they're cursed, actually. It happens every year. Not every year, but whenever someone makes it late into the season with an undefeated record, I'm just waiting for them to get beat. We saw it with Kentucky the year that Anthony Davis was there. They ended up winning the national championship, but they lost a late season game to Indiana. And I just think it's so tough to go throughout a whole season undefeated. Obviously, Gonzaga has been dominant up to this point, but I think that, and I think that they will get to the Final Four with relative ease, but I think once they get there, they're going to run into some really good teams. So I think that Gonzaga will get right up to that point, of close to an undefeated season, but I think at the very end that they will end up losing.
Isaiah, you think they're cursed to Gonzaga? You think Gonzaga can break that streak?
I hope they're not cursed. I got the winning it all, like I said earlier. I do think though, like Sean said, it's very hard to be undefeated because everyone is giving you your best shot every night. It's always under the spotlight. And, you don't get teams giving you they're like I don't know how to put it right person. But you're gonna get the best of the teams. So to go through a season undefeated in any sport is difficult, and especially in a tournament situation where it's one elimination and everything matters. The pressure is just even higher than at that point. So, undefeated, it's not impossible, but it's definitely very hard. Definitely.
Justin, Gonzaga, can they break that curse?
They're definitely good enough, but I do kind of feel like there's been a curse. You remember what that Wichita team back 2012 with Fred VanVleet and Ron Baker, and they got bouncing around to 32. Kentucky 2014 team, 2015. They struggled down the stretch, and then Wisconsin knocked them out. They really struggled, I think, going to the SEC tournament. So it's just so hard to go through a full season undefeated because you're going to get everybody's best shot game in and game out. And now, especially in the tournament, again, I think Gonzaga does make the Final Four, but I think, once they get there, I think they struggle to finish the job.
Stop saying that. I got money to win. Stop saying that.
Steve, give me your take.
I don't believe in curses, but I think in terms of a team going undefeated, I think it's just very hard for any team to go undefeated in any sport. I mean, obviously all of us are Giants fans. I mean, outside of Justin, all of us are Giants fans. We all know with the Patriots when they went 18-0 and they lost the last game. There hasn't been a team in the NFL that's gone undefeated in almost 50 years. So I just think it's so hard to go undefeated in any sport. It's just really, really, really hard. I don't think they're cursed. I just think it's just so difficult to do it, especially with all the parity in college basketball.
Yeah, no, that you're right. I am concerned about Gonzaga though, not because I feel that they're not a talented team. I think they're very, very talented. But I do worry that teams who face these undefeated guys, even in the first and second rounds, they're going to be given 110% no matter what. So I feel like that could be kind of tough for a team to deal with here. So I wanted to get into the kind of final questions here of the day. Guys, I just want to go around. Basically, why don't you hit me with your Final Four first? We'll go Sean, Zay, Justin, then Steve. Who's in your Final Four? After that, we'll say our national championship, and then after that, we will say who our champion is. Sean, start us off.
Yeah, my Final Four would be Gonzaga playing Florida State, and then I have Arkansas playing Illinois on the other side.
Isaiah, Final Four. Who you got?
Fortunately, guys, I haven't picked my Final Four yet.
Oh, no.
Still gotta win.
My God. Keeping us hanging, Isaiah.
Not my official bracket. I have Gonzaga winning it all, but I haven't finished picking my Final Four. But you guys
all right. I like it, given the, making sure you got everything right up in your head. I don't mind that. Justin, you got a Final Four?
I do. It's not official yet. I'll probably change it another 10 times, but before noon tomorrow. But right now I got Gonzaga, Alabama, Baylor, and Oklahoma State in the Final Four.
Steve, who you
mine
got?
is Gonzaga, Texas, Baylor, and Illinois.
All right, I guess it's my turn. I got, and this is a surprise because I haven't heard anyone say this team. I have Iowa in the Final Four. Iowa facing Texas, and on the other side, I have Ohio State facing Oklahoma State. Steve, we'll go to you. Who's your national champion? Or why don't you give us your championship game and then tell us who you got winning it?
In my championship game, I got Gonzaga against Illinois, and then I got Illinois ending Gonzaga's undefeated season and winning the national championship.
Nice. Justin, who you got?
I got Oklahoma State taking on Alabama, and I got Alabama winning the national championship.
Isaiah, I know you said Gonzaga is your champion. Do you have an opponent for them?
Right now, it's between Villanova and Ohio State for me.
Villanova. That's
Nova.
I picked a couple upsets on the board. All right, you gotta guess. There's going to be some games we're going to be sitting there like, I can't believe this happened.
That happens every year.
How many years do I go with just the high? No, there's going to be a couple of those games in there mixed in there. I'm telling you.
Sean, what's your national championship and who's your national champion?
Yeah, I'm with Steve on this one. I have Illinois and Gonzaga, and I also have Illinois winning it with I think that they're going to end Gonzaga's perfect season in the last game. I think that Kofi Coburn and Io, I don't even want to butcher his last name, but I think that they've been tremendous this season. I think that they're going to end up winning the whole thing.
You know what? I might have the fan favorited national championship here, but hey, like Isaiah said, anything can happen. And I feel like I'll be one of the few who have this championship game. I have Luka Garza in Iowa taking on Cade Cunningham in Oklahoma State in the national championship, and I have the Iowa Hawkeyes taking it all. I know that's a kind of shot in the dark, even though they're a 2 seed, but I can certainly see it happening. I think they're a team that can give a good challenge to Gonzaga, and I think after Gonzaga, they'll just coast. I think they'll be so high on that win that they'll just coast through the whole tournament. And
they definitely have the offense to do it.
Yeah, no, the 100%.
I thought you were gonna pick
Unless anyone has any closing statements here, I think that'll do it for our March Madness preview here. Anyone have anything left to say?
Go Huskies Saturday night.
That's right. UConn all the way, right, Isaiah?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you to Justin and Steve for coming on. Sean and Isaiah, thank you as always for your contributions to the show. We'll be back on Saturday with an NBA version of the show. I know we gave up the NBA today, but you kind of have to do that. It's one of the biggest times of the year, March Madness. It should be a fun few weeks, guys. So I'm looking forward to rubbing my perfect bracket in all your faces. So I'll see you guys soon. Check out clovercrestmedia.com. All of our other podcasts are available there. Like I said, we'll be back on Saturday. We are live every Tuesday. I know we're on a Thursday here, but we are live every Tuesday at 5 and Saturday at 1. So for Sean, Isaiah, Justin, and Steve, this has been Lucas Bolduck in the Posting Up Podcast. And as always, shout out to Jake's producing for us. Peace.
Mm-hmm.